Hello, gorgeous entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 288, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/288. In today's episode, I'm going to give you 3 really amazing strategies for increasing your value proposition. Value proposition is something I get very, very passionate about. It's such a critical concept and foundation to get right in your business. So today we're going to increase yours. Let's dive on in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. So what is value proposition? Your value proposition is the perceived value of the transformation you facilitate through the eyes of the potential buyer of that transformation. So in layman's terms, that is, what is the value to me of the gap between before working with you and after working with you? So you have people who come in and they have a certain skill level, outcome, result, experience, feeling, and then after working with you, they're here, they've gone through this beautiful journey, and now they're here, they've achieved this level of outcome or goal or feeling or whatever it might be. And your value proposition is, how valuable is that transformation to me as a potential buyer of it? Now, it's really important that we're clear here that it's through the eyes of the potential buyer. And this is where a lot of people get stuck, because they add things to their courses or their products and services that they think is going to be valuable. Or they just add extra things because they think, well, of course it's more valuable. It's got more things included in it. But it's important for us to understand that your potential buyers will perceive value based on their priorities, what's important to them, and what's valuable to them. So your job is to really understand what is valuable to them and then dial up that value proposition. So this is the reason why when you see people who pop into Facebook groups and they'll say, I'm going to run a workshop on how to simplify your Facebook ads and get leads for under $3. How much would you pay for that workshop? Someone will say $20 and someone else will say $2,000. That's exactly my problem right now. And it's because those people see the value proposition of that transformation very differently. If I'm not doing Facebook ads right now, I've never done Facebook ads before, that workshop is completely useless to me. If that is the exact problem I'm facing right now, that value proposition is quite high for me. And so what we want to do when we're looking at increasing the value proposition of your products and services is deeply understand, first and foremost, what is the transformation. So you need to know what that transformation is so we can increase the value proposition of it for your niche. So how do you increase the value proposition of your products and services? Number 1, it is not 2-point pricing. 2-point pricing is where you say it's valued at $3,000, but you get it for $37. And actually, in some countries, 2-point pricing is illegal. So I see it quite consistently online, not as much in the circles that I am in, but definitely out there in the wider online business world. You can see sometimes people put on their sales pages or their promos where they will say you get access to a Facebook community that's valued at $1,000. You get 12 step-by-step video modules that's valued at $2,400. You get 5 live calls with me. That's valued at $5,000. And then they add it all up and they'll say its regular value is $8,000 or $8,700, whatever that works out to. But your investment is just $795, right? So you see that quite a lot. Actually, in order to say something is valued at a certain amount, under Australian consumer law, now I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, this is my understanding of Australian consumer law. In order for you to be able to say that it's valued at something, you need to have had it available for a reasonable amount of time and made a reasonable amount of sales at that price. So if you have never offered access to your Facebook community for $1,000 before, and you've never sold it at $1,000 before, you cannot say it's valued at $1,000 under Australian consumer law. Now, it's different in different parts of the world. And again, I'm not a legal advisor, but first and foremost, it's gross. And secondly, it could actually be in contravention of consumer law. So you need to be mindful of that. I don't like that strategy. What you're doing is you're trying to increase the perceived value of something simply by telling people what its value is. And that number is completely plucked out of obscurity. And people are getting smarter these days. We learn to recognize 2-point pricing. We learn to recognize those sales tactics and strategies anyway. And as far as I'm concerned, when I see something that's offered at a 97% discount, does that make me think, wow, this is really valuable? Or does that make me think, why on earth are you discounting it by 97%? What's going on here? What's wrong with your business? Why do you need to discount it so far? So the perceived benefits of using 2-point pricing, actually, I don't think stand up as far as I'm concerned. So I don't recommend using 2-point pricing to increase your value proposition. I also don't recommend that you add more stuff to your things in order to increase the value proposition. In most cases, more bonuses just look like more work. So think about, you're buying a program that's going to get you from A to B. That program has 6 step-by-step modules and 6 live calls. It has a Facebook community where you can engage. But wait, I'm also going to give you a bonus masterclass with this person, a bonus toolkit on this, a bonus expert session with this person, a bonus this, a bonus that. You've now just told me that in order to get the transformation and go from A to B, I don't just need to do 6 modules and come to 6 calls. I also need to do these 5 extra things that you've thrown in order to actually get the outcome. So in most cases, when it comes to adding more and more, adding bonuses as incentives to get people to join sooner, adding bonuses as a way to increase the value proposition, you need to be mindful. Are you telling people that it's more work, or is it actually more value? And in most cases, bonuses just create a sense of, it's going to take more work. In order to get the outcome, I'm going to need to listen to these experts. And it's not just you who needs to teach me. I need to learn from 3 people, not 2 people, or not 1 person. I need to learn from a bunch of different people. So, when it comes to increasing value proposition, one of my top 3 strategies is not add more to it, right? It's not to add bonuses. It's not to make it more work for people, because for most people, that's not value. And then the final thing I say, don't jump into in order to increase the value proposition is fake discounts. Now, very similar to 2-point pricing, but a fake discount would be pretending that it was previously $3,000. This is taught in some sales strategy as was, then, now. So they use it as a double discount. So a double discount makes people think it's doubly valuable compared to a single discount. So you might see this, you might even notice this in your own behaviors. If you go into a discount store and you're buying, let's say you're buying a beautiful jumper. Actually, this top that I'm wearing right now, if you're watching on the video, I purchased this at an outlet store. And so on the price tag, it has the full price, and then it had the discounted price. But because it was in an outlet, there was an extra 30% off the discount price. So that is actually that model of pricing. Was, then, now, right? So there's been 2 discounts. Now that strategy works to offload out of season clothing, but your product or service is not out of season clothing if you're listening to this podcast. And your value proposition, your transformation that you are facilitating is not something that's out of season. It's not walking out the door, right? And so it's not a strategy I recommend for service-based businesses or information businesses or course or memberships. Those pricing strategies may work to get in the cheap and easy sales, but does it actually do its job in terms of your business overall and your strategy? I don't think it does. So fake discounts, was there now discounts, those sorts of things. I actually don't think that they increase the value proposition when it comes to online businesses like ours. So they're the things that I don't recommend in order to increase your value proposition. What do I recommend in order to increase your value proposition? Number one, understand your audience's existing priorities and attach your transformation to those priorities. You cannot change people's priorities. If your ideal client puts their health and well-being at the bottom of the list and you would love for them to buy your product, but it needs them to prioritize their health and well-being, you could spend years trying to convince people to put their health and well-being at the top of the priority list. Instead of trying to change people's priorities, attach the work you do to their existing ones. So when I ask the question then, well, what is it that they're sacrificing their health and well-being for? What's at the top of the list? Some people will put their family at the top of the list. Some people put their business at the top of the list. Some people put their career at the top of the list. Some people put their financial future at the top of the list. Your clue as to what they put at the top of the list is based on what do they already buy, what do they prioritize in terms of what they do, how do they allocate their time. And so if you can see for your audience, well, actually, I want them to prioritize their health and well-being and invest in this program, but I can see they will prioritize their business first and foremost every single time. That is their number one priority. Then if you can link the work you do with them to that number one priority, then you are going to increase the value proposition because it's going to be aligned with my priorities. So there are lots of different ways that you can do this through your messaging, through the way that you launch your product and service, through the way that you build your product and service. But first and foremost, you just want to pay attention to what is it that people prioritize. A lot of people come to me and they want to know, well, how can I get my free content to get people to change their priorities? How do I get people to put this at the top of their list? How do I get people to change the way that they think about this work? And yes, you can absolutely help people on that journey with your free content. That's something that I cover in my messaging ecosystem. We're warming up your audience, help them to achieve that light bulb of, what I need to focus on is X, right? So you can absolutely do that with some of your free content. But a much more powerful thing that you can do first and foremost is ensure that it's aligned. If people are going to consistently prioritize their business over their health and well-being, help them see the linkages between their health and well-being and the results in their business. It seems really simple and straightforward. It's not just a matter of saying being healthier will make you better at business, because you can ram that down people's throats till the cows come home, but they won't necessarily believe it or agree with you immediately. But there are ways that you can attach the work that you are doing, the transformation you are facilitating, with what people's existing priorities are. Yes? So that's number one. Attach it to their existing priorities. Don't try and get people to change their priorities. You will be able to increase the value proposition of your product and service simply by attaching it to people's priorities. Number two, help people to see how your product or service gets them better results, faster results, or easier results, or a combination of the three. Now, there is a caveat on this one because it needs to be believable. If you say to people, I can take you from 0 to 6 figures in 6 weeks, and you just have to follow my magic formula, and there's no insight into how your formula is different or what specifically makes your formula so amazing, then people are going to have that, I don't believe it. It's just a big empty promise. So you need to help people to believe that you can get them a better result, a faster result, or an easier result. And there are different ways for you to be able to create that believability. One of the most powerful ways to do that is to explain to people why your particular process gets them there faster, or gets them there easier, or gets them there in a better way, or gets them a better result. And that can really help people to feel that confidence. Wow, I can see that this person, when they talk about my money mindset and changing my belief systems, really has explained to me and really is clear on why their process is different to anything that I've tried before. And so therefore I can believe that they will get me that result faster. Yeah. And so this is why, and you'll see this marketing strategy and tactic everywhere now when you, especially if you watch advertorials, and especially things that are in the weight loss space or, anything that's in health and well-being. So they will explain to you why what you've done previously hasn't worked before they'll explain to you why their thing will work. Yeah. So if you have a look at all of the ab things, they'll talk about why does the previous thing that was supposed to, or the previous gizmo or gadget that was supposed to get you abs didn't work for you and why this one will. Yeah. So that's something that you can do in your messaging as well. As part of explaining why you can get people there faster, get them there easier, or get them a better result, talk about what their previous experience has been and why that may not have worked for them. So I'll give you an example through the lens of my takeoff program. So a lot of programs that are built for people in startup are low cost programs. Yeah, because a lot of people selling in that space believe that people who are in startup don't have a lot of money. So in order for a low cost program to make sense, they will have very little mentoring involved in that program. So a lot of the startup programs that are out there are under $1,000, but they're self-study. And my belief is that when you're in startup, your number one need is not self-study. It's actually mentoring. You need someone to mentor you through the startup process because we are unique. Our niches are unique. We don't know what we don't know. And there's a lot of areas in your business where you're going to need guidance to make decisions that work for you, that work for your audience. There are things about your market that you don't know. You need a mentor to help you through that process. So the takeoff program is more likely for people to get success as a startup because it includes the mentoring. And so I talk to that when I'm launching the takeoff program. And a lot of people who join the takeoff program have a bunch of startup programs that they've purchased before that didn't get them the result. And so their big question is, well, how is takeoff different? And I'm very clear on how takeoff is different. Takeoff is a very comprehensive startup program. It is not creating a carbon copy of my business, because you're not the same as me. And it is not a self-study program. It is a step-by-step, handheld group mentoring program because in startup, you need mentoring. So you can see how in that messaging, I'm increasing the value proposition of the takeoff program because I'm explaining to people how I can get them a better result. I can get them results faster, or I can get them results easier because of that mentoring, the differentiation from what else might be out there or what they've tried before versus what they're going to do with me. And that difference is a believable difference because I'm talking about how I differentiate through the mentoring. So number 2 way to improve the value proposition is to be really clear on how you get people a better result, a faster result, or an easier result, or a combination of the 3, but it needs to be believable. I need to understand and believe that that is possible for me. The number 3 way to increase your value proposition, and it will help you with the previous 2, is to niche more specifically. So your niche is who you are focused on when you are marketing your products and services. And by being very specific in your niche, you can be very specific then about how you link to existing priorities and how you can get people the result better, faster, or easier in a very believable way because it's niched when you are speaking to that experience. When you make your product or service specific to addressing my lived experiences, my specific struggles, my specific goals, then its value proposition is higher because I understand that you are an expert, you're a specialist, and I believe that you are going to be able to get me the outcome. So an example of where niching creates improved value proposition would be, let's say you're a massage therapist and you could be a generic massage therapist. I do all types of massage for all types of problems, aches, pains, sports injury, relaxation, all of those sorts of things. Or you could be a massage therapist who's niched. And let's say you niche into sports injury. Right? So now I want you to think about someone who has had an injury. They have a sports injury and there are two massage studios side by side. One says we do all types of massage, relaxation, sports injury, remedial massage, Thai massage, Balinese, oils, no oils. We do all the types of massage. And then there's one that says sports injury specialist. Now, which of those massage studios would you be most likely to walk into? And which of those massages would you be more likely to pay more for? So if you were someone who had experienced a sports injury and you saw that the massage studio with the sports injury charged $150 a massage, but the generic one was $100 for a massage, would the price point be make a significant difference to your decision making? Or if you've got your next game is in a week's time, are you willing to pay more knowing that you're going to a specialist? This is where niching is really powerful, because not only does it increase your ability to create reach and traction online, it also creates an opportunity for increased value proposition. The more specifically niched your products and services are, the higher the value proposition for your audience and your potential buyers. And so therefore, the less resistance you have to people purchasing, the higher you can price, the easier your marketing becomes, and the more organic reach that you get on social media as well. So niching is a really powerful part of that value proposition. So much so that if you're listening along to this episode and you're like, oh, I really need to nail that niche part. I think I need to get a bit more specific and tangible with my niche. Or you haven't actually heard anyone teach you niching through the lens of your niche is who, not what, right? So if you've thought niching was, oh, my niche is feng shui, that's actually not a niche, right? Or my niche is money blocks, not a niche, okay? So if you haven't done niche training before where it's specifically focused on who is it that you're niching down to working with, then I'd love for you to come and check out my free Nail Your Niche training. It is comprehensive and you will have a lot more clarity about how to improve your value proposition as well when you get that niching part right. Niche is step one to value proposition. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you come over to the show notes at tashcorbin.com/288 and I'll make sure I have a link to the Nail Your Niche training there with this episode. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. See you next week. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.